CAA 54 Market research in the development of products and services. The changing tastes of people and new trends, which are appearing more frequently, force companies to carry out thorough market studies to recognize possible opportunities, and from there decide which is the best way to proceed. This type of research also allows us to calculate the size of the target audience and its characteristics, as well as to discover who the main competitors are. In this way, we find different approaches and concepts that deserve to be analyzed. It is necessary to be clear that market research is composed of several methods and techniques, which have the purpose of obtaining information about a certain group of people, seeking to know details about their way of life and consumption habits. These data are essential so that the launch of a product or the creation of a service can be carried out successfully. From the aforementioned, it is possible to classify this type of research depending on the tools that are used and the information they seek to achieve. In first place are the studies that have an exploratory character, for which they use qualitative techniques. This allows to recognize different social and psychological aspects of people's behavior, such as beliefs, tastes, and personal motivations. Given that there are all types of products and services, which are usually aimed at a wide variety of segments, it is extremely important to establish which geographic and demographic variables are involved in the profile that you want to analyze. Among the most used methods in market research of qualitative type include the focus group. Basically, it consists of bringing together a small group of people that belong to the target audience that you want to study. In this way, and with the help of a guide of questions, you can collect the opinions and ideas of the interviewees. For better results, it is convenient to adapt an environment that is comfortable for them, as well as using simple and informal language. On the other hand is advertising research, which is deeply related to the development of new products and services. Here we include variables that seek to determine the strengths and weaknesses, as well as the possible threats that exist in the market. For this it is necessary to study the communication process, analyzing as many media as the content of the messages. This knowledge often depends on the success of a campaign or business strategy, because it allows to establish an objective and systematic process to discover the best way to satisfy consumers. Also, it is very helpful to find potential customers. CA 55 The origin and evolution of tattoos. The origin of tattoos can be traced back to the beginnings of humanity and the first civilizations. It is a custom that has been part of innumerable cultures, and that has now been integrated into society as an artistic expression and even as a fashion resource. All this makes it necessary to study its history and evolution, in order to have a better understanding of its meaning and implications in today's world. The word tattoo is used to refer to any form of artificial alteration in the base color of the skin, resulting in more complex silhouettes, words or designs. To achieve this, needles and other tools have been used that allow certain types of pigments to be injected into the epidermis. In the etymological aspect, it is a term that comes from the Samoan language, where it appears as tata, which is understood as the process of marking the skin through impact in 2 times. This was the traditional method, which was used in some islands of the Polynesian region. The sailors who explored the Pacific Ocean came into contact with this practice, and were fascinated. In this way, years later the expression would be adopted in the Spanish language, being a variation of the French word tatouage. Among the findings that have been made to reveal its origins, we should mention the mummified body that was found in the central mountain range of Europe during the early 20th century. It is a man who belonged to the Neolithic period, and on whose back he had more than 50 tattoos engraved. Also, in the area of Peru, tools dedicated to this process have been discovered, which are estimated to be 60,000 years old. Each culture has given a particular meaning to tattoos. In ancient Egypt they had a close relationship with their mythology, forming part of magical and religious rituals. In contrast, in Greece and Rome they were employed to make a difference between ordinary people and criminals, but also to point out the military rank or social hierarchy. Nowadays you can find all kinds of people with a tattoo, becoming visual accessories that anyone can wear on their skin. Different kinds of techniques have been developed to apply them, as well as variations in their designs to make them more striking. The old school style, for example, is inspired by the tattoos used by sailors after their contact with the Polynesian peoples. While the brush is one of the most complex expressions, with designs composed of geometric shapes, symbologies and other elements that seem drawn from famous paintings. CCAA 56. The importance of maintaining a balanced diet. A balanced diet is essential for a person to eat properly and have good health. The risks involved in the consumption of junk food can be more serious than any toxic that is accumulating in the body. Taking this into consideration, it is necessary to establish guidelines to eat as well as possible and have a healthy life. The last decades have involved an evolution in how people are fed. While centuries ago the objective was always to consume any kind of food in abundant quantities, which reflected a great purchasing power, now a totally different message is perceived in the media. The new millennium has brought with it a great variety of products that are advertised as the best, praising its flavor, low cost, practicality, or another striking feature, but hiding an alarming reality. All over the world you can find places that sell fast food. Even some are franchises that have been established in most countries, such as McDonald's. People are attracted by offers and discounts that promote their products, which become the only alternative they find within their accelerated life. But they do not understand the serious consequences that this decision will bring in the near future. A hamburger, for example, which is one of the most popular foods in these establishments, provides a large amount of calories but very few nutrients. In addition, it has high amounts of salt and other additives to make it more appetizing. However, what people do not understand is that the frequent consumption of these foods leads to a series of problems. Diabetes, overweight, and obesity are some of them. Although at first this may all be somewhat difficult to combat, especially taking into account that people are constantly being bombarded with deceptive advertising. In schools, courses should be given to raise awareness among students about the subject, while companies are obliged to motivate their workers to maintain a healthy diet, as this will improve their performance. It is essential to determine which foods are the most appropriate for each individual, since not all people have the same needs. Hiring the services of a nutritionist is highly recommended. In this way, we will have clear what amount of proteins, minerals, and vitamins are required by our body, and we will discover which are the most efficient ways to maintain a balanced diet. CCA 57. Cosmetic products and beauty treatments. Beauty has been one of the issues that has most worried people throughout history, especially women. This can be seen in the different mixtures and homemade substances that were used in past centuries. Its objective was, through the use of natural elements, to provide a treatment so that the face maintained its young state. They were also used on hair and other parts of the body that were visible. Nowadays, the concept of beauty is closely related to the superficial aspect, and cosmetics have been developed to preserve healthy and radiant skin. The most important cosmetics brands have been able to use the knowledge of yesteryear so that their products offer good results and do not arouse the suspicion of the public. In this way, if the honey masks or the application of herbal infusions such as chamomile and lavender were quite popular, these same ingredients can be found in the composition of creams, oils, lotions and various types of makeup. On the other hand, it is inevitable that new scientific discoveries and the use of advanced technologies have allowed to create better cosmetic products to maintain the beauty of the skin. That is the case of proteoglycan ampoules, which consists of a substance rich in proteins with the ability to restore skin cells. Among its main benefits is to moisturize the skin of the face, helping to not lose elasticity and preventing premature aging. In addition, some brands incorporate vitamin C and vitamin F in their composition, which are nutrients with antioxidant properties. The latter is ideal to reduce the appearance of spots and other conditions or imperfections. In beauty treatments with cosmetics, the use of caffeine is also very common. Although the proportion that is usually included in some creams and other similar products does not exceed 4%, this is enough to accelerate the metabolism of the skin. In this way, it represents an important resource for its regeneration. Nowadays, all the aforementioned measures are of great help so that both men and women can maintain a healthy skin against the different daily aggressions of the modern era, such as the excessive amount of toxic gases found in cities, or the inevitable fatigue and stress caused by our accelerated way of life. Finally, it only remains to say that beauty and youth go hand in hand. They are social conventions that will hardly change. People, regardless of their age or sex, should understand the great importance of the use of creams and other cosmetic products, so they can avoid unnecessary deterioration of their skin. While the fact of maintaining a balanced diet will also be of great help for this purpose. CCA 58 Neoliberalism and its problems as an economic model. Many developing countries, especially in Latin America, have adopted policies and structures that have not been designed taking into account their characteristics. This generalization obeys to a predominant thought that since last decades has been imposed around the world. I refer to neoliberalism. In this way, we are faced with a reality that must be analyzed to reveal its most important problems. In the first place, we must understand the basis of capitalism, which seeks at all costs the accumulation of wealth, favoring the upper classes and creating inequality in society. To better understand this, it is enough to know that there are approximately 150 corporations that have almost 50% of the world economy under their control. It is worth mentioning that these are entities that belong to different financial, commercial, and production-related areas. Thus we find one of the main problems of neoliberalism, since it is based on a capitalist policy. The goal of neoliberalism is that all the decisions made by a government are aimed at economic policies based on the market. In this way, it seeks to reduce public spending, displacing the state and opting for the intervention of companies that belong to the private sector. However, although in theory these practices can help with the development of a country and its people, end up favoring the interests of large corporations, which find more facilities as opposed to small businesses and limited investment capacity. For the implementation of this economic model, it is necessary to follow certain policies, which bring with them a series of problems. One of them is the increase in interest rates. Through this measure, it seeks to reduce inflation, preventing the currency from devaluing itself. However, this interferes with economic growth, affecting the flow of exports at different levels. On the other hand are restrictive fiscal policies, which represent one of the most questioned aspects of neoliberalism. This is due to the fact that through the increase of taxes on consumption, the aim is to reduce production costs, with the apparent objective that the state spend less and investment can be encouraged. The drawback of all this is that there are no differences between taxpayers, and majorities end up being treated in the same way as large companies, something completely unfair that undermines the sustainable development of any country. In conclusion, there is no doubt that neoliberalism is a flawed economic model. The world must change for the better, prioritizing the rights of the least favored so that there is equality in society. It is necessary for citizens to organize themselves in a peaceful and intelligent manner, demanding that the state take action on the matter, and that the power of decision not be left to the mercy of foreign interests.